What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Jacked Ramsays, Danny Marang, Brandon Sprague here on a Monday night following the Portland Trailblazers' little 2-0 weekend back-to-back against the Utah Jazz and the Indiana Pacers. I'm like, what's that NBA franchise again? They just
It's funny that the franchise, Danny, is largely irrelevant. But I told my nephew this, who's 13. I said, I don't really care about the Indiana Pacers. But damn it, do I love that logo. I love that P with the basketball in it.
It's a good logo.
It is a good
it's a good logo.
It makes me think of Reggie in NBA Jam. I just go back to a time when I loved playing NBA basketball video games. And I love that logo.
That tracks. I like that.
Yeah.
I like where your head's at. As we're going live here now, I believe the Dallas Mavericks are still beating the ever-living hell out of the Phoenix Suns.
What is that?
Luka owns the Suns. That's what this
Dallas is 10th in the West and Phoenix is having a good year, and it's like, nope, can't do it against them. It's just the Luka thing, man.
He owns them. That's the only thing that I could come up with. But as we're talking about where teams are sitting in the West, the Portland Trailblazers currently sit 6th in the West at 13-11. They are right where we thought they would be. Regardless of where everybody was freaking out, where things ended up.
Technically, they fell to 7th because Kawhi's game winner tonight.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Half game.
Half game. Let's get the other boring stuff out of the way real quick, but necessary. Like, rate, review, subscribe, help us grow the show, help us get to 5,000 by the end of the year. Like I said, I have an autograph ball that I will randomly select from all of our subscribers, and it'll be yours for free. If we hit 5,000 by the end of the year. If not, well, maybe next time. Share us with your friends, share us with your family, and if you're watching here live, if you're watching here live or if you're watching on the replay, click subscribe. It's free. It's easy. There you go. All the things are out of the way. We get a lot of questions. It's not really a mailbag. It's a let's see where things are. Let's see what questions you have. It'll kind of be a quasi mailbag, but also a check-in of basically a third of the way through the season. 24 games. 25 is that round number, but we have 3 days off, and I'm not going to not do anything for 3 days. So I said I wasn't going to do a show last night after the Pacers game, and I did it anyways.
Yeah, I woke up to that. You need to breathe.
Well, you know what, man? I was on my way home, and I looked at the clock. It said 9:40, and I'm like,
yeah, that's plenty of time to get home and relax, take a bubble bath.
The game's usually not even over at that point in time. And I was like, yeah, I can sneak that in there. I can do that. I can talk about a win. It's fun.
Hey, the last two have been a lot of fun. What Ant did against Utah, and then yesterday against Indiana. We did the 11-game look ahead, right, going into Christmas.
Yeah,
we played that game.
We played the win-loss game that everybody hates.
And everybody hates it, and then they play it.
It's the game that everybody plays.
I said 7-4. I thought they'd beat Utah and Indiana, but I thought Indiana would be a lot closer. And so, pleasantly surprised watching them, especially in that third quarter, kind of just bury that team and put that separation between them and Indiana and pull away. Because Indiana's not the greatest team, but Indiana's got some dudes.
They do.
Indiana's a difficult matchup for this team.
And stop me if you've heard this one before. A team missing its two primary ball handlers struggled.
Yes. Breaking news.
Weird how having one point guard makes things so much more difficult.
It puts things in perspective here, doesn't it?
Yeah. Wow, that team. God, why can't the Pacers get anything going after Andrew Nembhard is taken away? I don't know, because they have nobody else who can dribble, pass, and shoot at the same time. Yeah, Tyrese Halliburton is stupid good. I was super bummed that that he didn't play. That's the first game he's missed for the Pacers.
Well, he missed tonight too, so he's back-to-back just missing games. So
the thought was he was going to try to go today, and that was why he didn't play last night. So.
Well, I was actually surprised by that pre-tip because I think when we played that game, I was under the impression he was going to play in that, and that's why I kind of thought
the Pacers media before the game told me that they thought he was going to go.
Really?
Yeah. So, and we were all kind of talking beforehand. They're like, "Do you think Dame's going to go?" I'm like, "I know Dame's going to go."
Dame.
I have been told unequivocally that Dame is going tonight.
I think that Utah game was getting Dame's blood boiling. He's watching Ant go off. He's like, damn it, man, I got to be out there.
I was told that Dame could have gone a couple days ahead. So,
well, I like that then, though.
They're being more cautious. So, let's kind of frame where they're at right now health-wise, because this seems to be always the check-in. Josh Hart and Chauncey talked about this last night in postgame. If the guy can jog, he's going to play. And jog he did last night. In warm-ups, he was, this really plays in the podcast version, the audio version, me doing my little horse
I was going to say,
with my head.
your little head nod over there.
That's what he was doing, bobbing up and down in warm-ups. And I'm like, he's going to play? I don't know about that. And then he played because he's insane and he's legitimately built different and he gives a shit about basketball. We've talked about this in the preseason a little bit. The idea of how many guys in the league truly play for love of the game. Josh Hart is one of those guys. And it trickles down. And Chauncey talked about how he's a warrior. And he's kind of become like the talisman of the team. Like he's the bellwether guy. Like his energy is so contagious that they kind of feel lost without him. And there's some good and some bad to this, in the sense of a guy like Drew Eubanks, who's tough as nails, looks at Josh and says, well, shit, if Josh is going, I got to go. I got to play.
Right.
And you see him go out there last night with back spasms. And he told Chauncey, no, I'm good. I'm good, coach. I'm good, coach. And Chauncey trusted him. All right, I'll let you go. And then he trusted him until he couldn't because he was dragging his leg behind him.
Yeah.
But there's this level of competitiveness and get after itness, whatever you want to call it, that come from grinding and playing through it. And I was talking to Jeremy last night. I go, you got guys that are banged up, that aren't listed on the injury report. That's normal. You just have knocks up and down. I go, when you see Josh out there, he's like, yeah, everybody else sees what he's doing. And you kind of like, all right, I got to figure it out.
Oh, it's infectious.
It is.
Like, how is it not contagious for everybody else to say, oh, I got this. Like, I'm playing through it anyway if Josh is going to play with it.
Yeah. And that was kind of the thing. And I asked Jeremy about spatting his ankles. I go, do you normally? He goes, a little bit, not usually this much. Like, he's cutting off a couple inches of tape, when he gets done after the game. Justice is the same way. And they are battling through. I've seen people lately talk about Justice, and he struggled, and not with just his shooting, but he's gotten blown by a couple times. He's playing on two ankles that are wonky, and so he's not great. Sometimes changing directions. Sometimes he's dragging a little bit behind him. They need these 3 days off.
Yeah, these are huge. These are pivotal for teams.
They did not practice today. I got a note. Hold on. I just saw right before we went up. I got a note. Where was it at? I don't think that they're practicing today. Okay, no, they're taking tomorrow off as well.
I'd give them 3 days. Like, just come get.
They
some
need
shots
that.
up.
They need that one day. I think they're going to do video and walkthrough on Wednesday.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But light practice, like nothing like hardcore or anything. You take it easy as much as you can.
And then they'll do their shoot around on Thursday.
I think it's what you're bringing up with Josh. This isn't obviously not the measure of who's your best player. It is in some ways, but it's obviously not for this. But like, it's not a surprise to hear Josh playing through that, and you look up and he's got the best plus minus on the team. I mean, his impact when he plays, he does so many of those little things that
let him rebounding last night.
We all see it. Yeah, the rebounding's been phenomenal this year. I remember talking to Eric Gunderson about this prior to the year, and he was pretty high on this team. Like, I give Gundy a lot of credit. He thought they'd be better than I thought they'd be, and I said, one of the things I didn't like is they don't have big depth, right? Like, Drew is basically a pseudo backup to the backup, and he's going to be their backup, and Trendon, and they're going to play small ball 5. And he said, man, I think there's going to be some dudes that surprise us and really hit the glass hard. And Josh has definitely been one of them. I mean, Josh has a 19 rebound game this year. And so to see the plus minus be the best on the team, I think that just speaks to like who he is when he plays. And it's been a minute. We've had some good players come through Portland. But Danny, I think you got to go back to like 2013, 2014, we've got a guy that's finally of the same cloth as Wes. Like he's a different player, but he reminds me so much of Wes with the mentality and the
We've
way
talked
he
about
approaches
them
the game.
needing that guy basically since West left.
And they finally found, like, it took them a little while, but like it feels like they're finally here. They've got that dude, and I love watching him play, man. I'm really glad he's able to kind of gut it out, and I think it spreads throughout the team of like, yo, the toughness has to be to a certain caliber if we want to play better.
So do they trade him? I say that jokingly.
Well, but it's not a joke because he would obviously be probably the asset.
He is, and that's this very, very difficult spot. Chauncey has alluded to just how much Chauncey is not mixing his feelings about how he feels about Josh.
Sure.
And how...
What's the trade?
Well, that's the thing is, do they invest money in him and keep him? Or do they move on? Because it's not just a matter of talent. It's because of the way the books are, the way that they are. And is Josh your long-term answer at the 3? And I don't necessarily know if that's the case. I mentioned this the other night during the game. Did you know Josh's 3-point attempt rate has been cut in half?
No, but it wouldn't surprise me to hear you say that.
Quite literally cut in half. So he's 52% of his shots over his career have been threes. He is at 26% this season.
He's been super aggressive. He's getting a lot of looks at the rim. He's
turning down a lot of threes.
Well, he went through a slump there for a while. He might still be in a slump. I'll bring up his game log numbers, but he didn't have a lot of confidence when he was shooting that ball for a few games there in a row. So
I think that's the way the NBA goes.
Yeah.
And listen, this is something I actually want to ask him.
Bring up his game log. Hold on.
I want to talk to him about this before the Denver game. I can. Hey, is it because you need your legs? As a 3-point shooter, and it's just not something that's great for you right now? Or is this Chauncey doesn't necessarily want you getting up as many threes. They want you to be the rim pressure guy. Like, what's the change here? Because regardless of whatever it is, he is passing up multiple 3-point opportunities a game.
He's average. I mean, on the season, he's averaging like 2 threes a game. Like, he's just not shooting threes.
No, like he is his career, I believe he's at like 4.2 or 4.3 attempts per game.
Yeah, in the month of, let's see, in October he was giving you 1.3 a game. In November it was 2-1, and then obviously last night, their first December game, he gives you 3. So yeah,
it's down. It's literally cut in half. Yeah, so it's interesting. But it's something I want to ask him. But that's more of a short-term scenario than a long-term, and I'm still not at the point of like, what do you trade him for or who do you trade him for? I'm not to that level yet, but it's interesting to think about how, like, I don't want to say how much does he mean to the team, because it's very clear he means a lot to the team.
Mm-hmm.
But does that value translate to wins? And now I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about with this kind of group. And by group, I mean Dame, Ant, Jeremy, Shaden. That's the core as I see it right now. Do you see it any other way?
No.
Those are the 4, right?
Yeah, I don't even think that's a debate. Look, no. We don't need to get into it because there's really not anything out there right now. It's hard to move on from a dude like this. But you also have to have perspective and tell yourself, like, what's going to be available at some point. Mm-hmm. And to answer your question, like, is that your long-term answer at 3? I think the sad thing is, like, there's an inherently great value on it. One of the questions we got from somebody is it better to have top-end talent or like a team with like a bunch of good pieces? No,
this is Kevin Dew. This is I was literally framing this to go to this question.
Well,
this is from Kevin Dew. He said, revisiting a question I asked last year.
Yeah.
After we saw some star movement, what's better, a team with more top-end talent or a team with perfect pieces?
Yeah.
And I default to the top-end talent more often than not.
Sure, I think you have to in this league, right?
Yeah.
Like, You can argue all you want about what Dallas's roster is. The top end talent on that roster is Luka Doncic, and anytime you get Luka in a game,
I'm telling you right now, there's not a team in the league that wants to play him in the playoffs. Not one.
No, why would you want to? He's 6'8", 6'7". He could dribble and shoot. Like he
averages basically a triple double in the playoffs. Like
ridiculous.
In a 7-game series, it's one of the last players. Like, well, the heliocentric offense doesn't really get to the playoffs.
Ask the Clippers what it's like with PG and Kawhi on that team. They don't want to see him. Like, that's two dudes.
Yeah,
so,
guess what? He's the better version of that guy now.
I tend to agree with you that it's the top end.
For 82, the pieces make sense.
Pieces.
Yes,
sure.
But for 16, it's the talent.
You kind of have to balance that world.
You do. You can't.
That's the tough thing.
Because the Nets are the top end talent.
Yeah.
And that's like, it has to make some sense.
Right.
Like, you can't go completely crazy with it. Like, that's not how that works.
You need to be Cleveland. You need to have all your pieces be top end talent.
Everyone in your starting lineup except for your small forward be top end talent. Yeah.
Let's get all generational centers. Let's put them in the starting lineup. Let's get 2 premier scoring guards. Let's put them in the starting lineup.
And then hopefully we can stumble ourselves into an all-star wing, you know?
We need 4 more dudes and we'll figure that out. Hey, Dean Wade can shoot. There we go.
Hey, don't downplay Dean Wade. He's a hooper.
No, I'm saying hey, Dean Wade can go. Let's put him out there. There we go.
And this was a question from Julio Cantu. Are you guys believing Hart is the answer at small forward for at least the next calendar year? And then reasons. This is kind of framing of all of this. I love Josh, but what did I say coming into this season? You need Nasir Little to be your starter and Josh Hart to be coming off the bench.
Yeah.
I haven't changed my mind on that. I believe if Josh Hart is your 6th or 7th man, your team is in a very good spot. And until they get to that point, no. And it's not a shot at Josh. I love Josh. But if your core is Dame, Ant, Grant, Shaden needs to be, or it should be, Josh needs to be your 6th or 7th man.
I think in any other timeline of reality here, Josh is coming off the bench and providing you with such a great role. Unfortunately, this isn't the timeline.
No.
Because this isn't the team roster-wise.
They're still 18 months away from being what they hope to be.
So to answer that question, no, I don't think he will be your starting 3 in a calendar year. And, but
it's not because either one of us don't like Josh, because both of us have spent a ton of time off camera talking about him. It's like,
how do you think they feel? I mean, you mentioned Chauncey. How do you think Joe feels? Like, this is the part of this business that sucks. Is like, you get a dude like this, and you're like,
why couldn't you be here in 2 years? Can you go away for 18 months and then force your way back? Can you do that? Because we need your money.
Bad timing with a girlfriend, man.
Yeah, exactly. We need the money to come back and work. We need your salary slot.
But hey, you had a crush on your wife, and then you guys found each other later in life.
I knew my wife was a hot back in high school, and then we came back to her 20 years later.
So maybe, hopefully it's not 20 years, but hopefully in 2 years.
Yeah, we'll cut the zero. It makes sense. You're not trading the big 3, and you're going to be able to bring back a replacement big or wing that can make a difference without jeopardizing it.
Yeah, I think this is a really good question, and I think people on the other side of my answer have a pretty good argument. But yes, it makes sense to make a change. Here's ultimately the reality is you got some dudes that contractually I think you'd want to move off of, and then you've thought it would be. But if some of these teams keep going in the crapper, I mean, there's a team out there in the East right now that might have a dude, and I don't know what the conversations are going to be for Portland or who maybe they're eyeing, but some of these teams are going to start freeing up some guys that make a lot more sense, I think, with the direction that your team is headed. And so, yeah, this thing's fun, but I think a move still makes sense for them despite what they are.
Yeah. I'm just going to echo that sentiment almost entirely. There's this spot that the team is in right now, and I think you have to separate these two things. What they're doing this season versus what they're hoping to accomplish in the long term. And I think for fans, it's hard to divorce those two things because as fans, we want it now. It's my money. I want it now. Shout out JG Wentworth. But the don't act like you don't have that jingle stuck in your head for the rest of eternity.
I wasn't even thinking about it, and you're out here shouting out JG Wentworth like they're dropping $1,000 to be referenced on a podcast episode.
I just had it running through my head.
Hey, 877 cash now.
Exactly. See, this team. We talked about it with Joe.
Yeah.
This team that they started with is not the team they're going to end the season with. They're building towards a title team. It's not that this season doesn't matter, because it does matter for establishing a culture, for establishing trends, for establishing relationships, pecking order, development, all that stuff. But this team has been looked upon as this, I don't know, this weird spot of, like when they were winning early on, like, oh, maybe they could make some noise in the playoffs. It's not that it's irrelevant, but it's not the goal this year. You guys heard Joe say it himself. I need evaluation time on this. And yes, there will be changes. This is not Neil talking about Al-Farouq Aminu at a 54-win pace at the 4. We're not even to that level yet.
Right.
Who the hell's our starting 3? Is Nurk our starting 5 long term? Who's our 6th man? Who's our backup 5? Can we get another premier player? Like, those are the things that they're asking. Not how deep can they go in the playoffs. Not how can they counter DeAndre Ayton and the Suns. Not how do they handle Nikola Jokic. Not how do they eventually deal with Giannis in the finals. Those are not the questions they're asking right now. They're still busy. They're beyond the foundation stages. Now we're putting the walls up. What are those walls going to be? Who are you basing that off of? You start throwing the roof on this thing, then we start asking how deep do they go?
Mm-hmm.
That's the situation that they're in. Yes, you want to be mindful of chemistry. Yes, you want to be mindful of the vibes, because we saw how absolutely shitty the vibes can get. This team last year at this point in time wanted to kill each other. There's no... You do not have to be around the team to know that. You could see it through the TV screen. It was very apparent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Everybody was like, well, things are going really good right now. They're going okay.
They're 2 games above 500.
They're 13-11. We get so attached to this. Yes.
Yeah, like it's fun to watch. It's, there's some cool stories to it. I give them a lot of credit for doing what they're doing, but like they're 2 games above 500. If the playoffs started today, they would take on Golden State in a play-in. They'd probably not fare well in that, and then their prize to that would be Luka for the final playoff spot.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. So like it needs to be put in place. Like there is perspective to be had here, and I don't want that to sound negative. I'm loving this. I think this is a lot of fun this season.
Yes, you're establishing how you play, their style of play, and what they want to be, their identity.
They have a long ways to go, I think, to get to the level that we're all kind of hoping that they get to in the relative future, because the Dame clock is ticking, and Ant by the day is getting the experience and the reps, and dear God, like what is that going to be? Shaden, obviously, you hope he breaks out of a slump, and Jeremy's been an all-star. Like your core 4 pieces have been interesting, and you kind of wondering about dynamic, and it leaves you very hopeful. But they got a long ways to go here. And somebody asked this question earlier. I don't want to jump ahead too much, but there was another question about like who would you give credit for what they have been culturally this year? I always start with Dame. I always will start with the letter O. I think he is the culture setter. I think he's the
Andrew
greatest
John.
leader.
This is the question. Who are some of the unsung figures in changing the team culture this year? Are there any specific changes to the management and team staff that we should be paying more attention to?
So unsung, Dame is not unsung, but I always start with letter O. I think he's the best leader in sports. He's amazing.
Look at the contrast in Atlanta right now, Trae Young. That's
Wow, that back and forth was unbelievable today with that reporter. But unsung would be Josh is one of these. I think, he's not very vocal and loud. I think Jeremy quietly has been a great locker room character guy.
So for people that don't know, when you walk in the locker room, Jeremy's locker is immediately in the right corner. And he's
got the Myers Leonard locker?
He's got the right-hand corner with the two-piece. Yep. Nurk has the left locker, the two-piece. And then Ant, and then Baji, Shaden, Nasir, Dame.
Yeah.
And Ant has the double, Nurk has the double, Dame has the double. So Nurk, Dame, Ant, Jeremy are the guys and Josh has the far on the opposite side of Dame.
On the right?
Yeah. So those are your 5 guys with the double lockers. Everybody else.
Got the LaMarcus is what I call that.
Yes. the one furthest from the doors.
Yes.
Dame has the ones closest to the shower. LaMarcus has the furthest one from the doors and the easiest one to sneak out of.
Yes. Yeah, you go through the coach's office. People don't know, but you go through the coach's office.
And you can just, I'm out here.
Right out.
But I say that because those spots are reserved typically for vets or guys who have some cachet.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, this is going to sound a little weird. Myers was liked. For people that don't know that, Myers was at Dame's wedding. Myers was well respected. No, he wasn't like Jeremy Grant level of player. Don't get twisted. But he was well respected, well liked, especially early on. Went downhill from there. That's rough, but we're not going to go down that road. But Jeremy, to your point, is I think very well respected. JG, man, I will tell you this, pre and post game, Jeremy just kind of when he's in there, he kind of sits low in his chair, and I've talked about this before. He reminds me of one of the worm guys from Men in Black. He's just his torso is so long that when he slides down in the chair, you're like, do you have 2 sets of abs? Because it's how is your mid do your abs did you have an ab implant? What is
right? It's
like a stack of 14 abs. It's just so his midsection, his waist is so long. But he just kind of slides down in a chair. He's not a big talker. But the way that the young wings like Greg and Jabari and John Butler sits right in between them. The way that they all kind of look at him and ask him questions, and you can almost feel like Greg searching for his approval. Sometimes you Big Brother's approval. I feel like Jeremy has that effect on a lot of the young guys on the team. A lot. And you just kind of feel that. Even though Jeremy, like you said, doesn't say much, the way that he kind of commands that space, and for anybody who's never been in a professional locker room, certain players command certain amount of space. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dame clearly commands the room, but if you go into a football locker room, the loudest guy on the team might not command the most space. Everybody thinks of a Richard Sherman in a locker room, real loud, bark, 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 bark. But it's probably Bobby Wagner who commands the most space.
Sure.
It's not necessarily the best player, or the loudest player.
It's sometimes it's it's not to say other players don't have it, but in a weird way, it's I guess in a way to say it's the most untalked about respect.
Yes, it is unsaid, unspoken entirely.
Yeah, you don't need to say anything.
You just walk in the room, and if you did not know a single player in that room, you would walk in and you would immediately know who they are looking to for guidance.
For sure, I'd imagine so. I haven't been in the locker room, but I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, and Jeremy is a guy that you walk in the room and you just know. Mm-hmm. And Josh doesn't say a word, and he is looked at 100% the same way.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny. Post game, you see him get up from whatever he's icing, his knees, his ankles, his shoulder, his wrist, and you see him meander to the shower, and you can just kind of see his teammates look at him man, guy's tough. Guy's tough. Yeah. Like you can see that. And even though they see it all the time, they don't get tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't know, it's kind of a weird deviation down kind of like the inside, I don't want to say power structure, but kind of like just how the locker room shapes up to at least me when I'm in there.
I would say, so it'd be him, Josh, unsung. I think in a weird way, he's 23. I think Ant being here for as long as he has and having kind of the respect of Dame the way he does, and Dame kind of looking at him.
Third longest tenured Blazer right now.
It's ridiculous. But, I think in a weird way, Ant is in this too. He's kind of falls in the Jeremy thing. And, yesterday, by the way, the Utah game, he had a couple moments, and he's had this a couple
pissed
times.
Off.
He slams the floor. He's like, give me the goddamn call.
Yep.
I think when guys react that way, that they're that nature, they're like Ant, and then they react that way, I think it really gets guys going, whoa, he cared a lot, right? This dude cares.
He's locked in right now.
Because that ain't who he is, really. No. And so player-wise, I'd say that. I think you got to give Chauncey some credit here. He's just a no-bullshit dude who's going to tell you what he thinks, and he'll hold you accountable. And then, give Joe some respect and credit, too, because, I think it's pretty clear as day. We just passed the 1-year anniversary of the last dude getting axed.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty evident that
calendar year Joe has changed the culture over entirely.
That culture, I think, is carryover with Dame, but in the same way, I think there's a lot of ways it's changed too for the better for them. There's not as toxic behind the scenes type feel as there once was.
Without naming names and without getting rehashing all this, because I definitely don't want to do that right now.
No,
there is not a single person that I have talked to in or around the organization that hasn't noted the positive change.
Yeah,
that's
not surprising.
Just going into work.
Right.
Business side, basketball side, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Every single person has been like, yeah, it's just better around here. That's how it goes. This is a fun question that we don't spend a ton of time on, but it is pretty funny. Kyle Brown, at Kyle Brown 1333. Does Jeremy Grant answer the question, what if Travis Outlaw was really good? And the answer is yes.
Absolutely.
That is the answer. Yes. A lot of mid-range post-ups and fadeaways. I asked Lamar, heard about this before the game last night. I'm like, you're down there, man. Am I insane, or does Jeremy Grant have a post package that we haven't seen in 20 years?
Bro, and this turnaround fades are...
He's got it over both shoulders.
Butter. He shoots it. I'm like, ooh, it's a tough... okay.
Ooh, it's cash.
And it's crazy how contested they look when he lets them go.
His footwork is immaculate.
Yeah.
It's truly insane stuff. And Lamar was kind of giving me that same look, we talked about with Shaden, that, head turned a little sideways, big smile, mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, no. And and I was like, I even told him, and I evoked the name. I said, he's got a Kobe post package.
Oh, God.
And he looked at me and I go, I know how crazy it sounds. He goes, you're not crazy. And I'm like, mid post, turn and fade over either shoulder, shimmy, shake. Remember, he's brought out that post fake, the shoulder fake on the inside move where the defender is bit hard, I think 2 or 3 times this season. And then the inside spin. He's got the drop step. He's got the step through. And most importantly, when he's gotten that drop step, you know what he's done almost every single time? Dunked it. Every single time when he drop steps towards the rim.
He's aggressive, man. That's the thing about him and Ant. They're quiet killers. They just have a very aggressive nature to their game.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, the quietest, most humble dude you could meet.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is. Lauren at Lopo PDX, could you give us a snapshot preview of what to expect from the opponents in the next few home games against Denver and Minnesota? Always appreciated both your insight during the pregame shows from last year. Yeah, obviously we haven't done the pregame shows, so but I feel like it's a good point to kind of pivot away from some of the mailbag questions and kind of go back to where they are and where we kind of see this team going. They have Denver coming up on Thursday. They're going to get some rest. They have Minnesota twice, and Cat's not going to go.
Yeah, he's out.
So,
but you can make an argument Minnesota in some ways is kind of better because now Cat and Gobert aren't this weird.
Yeah, they aren't conflicting.
Yeah, hey, we're both here and we're big. It's awkward.
But you take a look at Minnesota. who they will play twice. In the last 5 games, they're 1-4.
Yeah.
At the same time, the fat kid who likes fast food, Anthony Edwards. You could be talking about me or Anthony Edwards. I'm joking, guys. Like he's a professional athlete, but he needs to get his diet under control.
No, you know what's funny is I can't remember who said it.
It was Cat who busted his balls.
No. Somebody came to his defense actually and said, "What did you make a Cat randomly throwing him out there?" And somebody said, his first year, there's definitely valid reasons to have said that, but they said over like the last 8 months, he's hired a nutritionist and he's actually been eating well. And he's like, it was the most random. Who was it? Somebody said it on a pod, and they're like, it was the most random stray I've ever heard.
So it's probably that he just said that and because there's something else.
And that team is weird, man. Like
that's a collection of personalities. They've got a bunch of B-type personalities.
Yes.
There's a reason why Jimmy made everybody look the way that he did. I'll just say that they don't have a leader on that team.
So wait, there could be a Cat available?
Cat should not be available. He should not be available.
I don't know if they're gonna be able to trade that Rudy Gobert contract though.
Well, I mean, I'm just talking about Cat available just for. Well, I mean, if you're talking about trade, we'll see. I think they're gonna go at least a year. But
damn it, is Tom Brady ever gonna lose a football game?
No.
Like, God damn it.
You know this. But Edwards has been their guy, over 27 a game. D'Angelo Russell has looked better as a playmaker. The ball has stopped sticking entirely with him. Jalen Noel has kind of slotted in. He's been an 18-point-a-game guy. And Gobert is still in a weird spot where he hasn't been nearly as effective as he was in Utah. Like, he's not been nearly as dominant on the glass.
No.
He's also only playing like 26 minutes a night, which just weird.
His last game, they lost to OKC at home, and I didn't watch that game, but it was like that was no defense being scored.
Yeah, and Shea went nuts, and Jalen Williams played really well.
He played 9 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a reason for that? Because he only had 2.
He got ejected for.
Oh, okay. I missed it then. I was
Jalen Williams finished like kind of a possession where he kind of pushed Gobert in midair. And Gobert fell down, and then Jalen Williams kind of like threw his legs through Gobert's legs, and then Rudy got tossed, deservedly so, but he swept the leg in a violent video game-esque manner, and then it turned into a kerfuffle.
Okay.
So, I think there's an opportunity. It doesn't happen all that often, and it's definitely don't gamble on this. That's for sure. Don't ever take any of my gambling advice. But I think there's a possibility that the Portland can steal both those Minnesota games.
I know. I think when we did that, I think I split them.
I split them. I split those ones and I split the OKC ones. But I think they can actually take both from Minnesota because they don't have any heart.
No, and they're not. The other thing is they're gonna need Ant to go off because that team's just made entirely of guards. It feels like a team that doesn't like each other.
No, it doesn't make it, and it doesn't really make a ton of sense especially without Cat. They played Denver obviously before that on Thursday. Jokic is back to being Jokic-y. He started the season off. Yeah, he started the season off pretty slow. Over the last 5, he's shooting 66%. His shooting splits are 66, 44, 68. So the free throw shooting's a little weird, but he's averaging 25, 12, and 9.
God.
The last week in the NBA has been something. Anthony Davis, Jokic, Jeremy, Ant, Tatum, Ayton. There have been Giannis, KD. There have been some Booker. There have been some performances the last week in the NBA. My goodness.
Yeah.
Jamal Murray's looking more Jamal Murray-esque. Aaron Gordon continues to be very good. They have not, I believe MPJ's been nicked up a little bit. I don't know where he sits on the, you know what? I've got media access, so give me a second.
Yeah.
I will check the injury report for the good old Nuggies. Let's see, injury report.
So he didn't play in their last game.
No, I believe he's been out the last 4.
Yeah, he's been out for a minute, but you're right. They're 14-9. They had a slow start to their season. Jokic wasn't killing it. Murray's had a real slow start to coming back from the injury, but mean, his last game, he gave him 18 and 5. So, yeah, he's starting to kind of get it going a little bit. Jokic is kind of rounding into MVP form again. And look, Gordon, I'd have to go look at his games, but I feel like every time he's been playing Portland, well, I feel like when he plays Portland especially,
he murders his team because they haven't had a guy to deal with him, and Jeremy's going to be the guy to deal with him.
That's going to be the fun one is Aaron Gordon versus Jeremy Grant. You could probably make an argument, despite how good Jokic is, their game might boil down to who wins between Gordon and Grant. Like how that matchup goes is going to be huge. We'll see here in a second with Porter Jr., but
it's a foot strain.
Okay.
So I hadn't dove into that one yet because I got a couple extra days off to actually do a little bit of prep before that game. Thank God.
Well, Jokic owns Nurkic. I mean, we know that that's a fact. So I don't know. Man.
It happens.
Yes, it absolutely happens. You're a 2-time MVP. So you just hope that
he owns a lot of people.
You hope that Ant has it going. Kentavious has been fine for them. He's kind of one of the premier or prototypical, I should say, role guys.
Yeah.
It's Aaron Gordon and Jeremy Grant to me in that matchup. Like, who's going to get the best of each other? Because Aaron Gordon, as we mentioned, he really has gotten the best of Portland in those games. So
without MPJ, who has been problematic for Portland to deal with the last couple of matchups because he's a 6'10" guy who can put the ball on the floor quasi but can shoot over anyone.
Yep.
Without him, they look a little bit more traditional, and you can have Josh pick up Jamal Murray. And you can hide a Dame on a Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and you can just kind of figure things out from there. Like it's a lot easier when they don't have MPJ and they don't go 6'10", 6'9", 7 foot in the front court. It's a little frustrating sometimes when you're trying to go against that.
And by the way, underrated part of that game is going to be the Bruce Brown, Josh Hart stuff.
Yeah, because they kind of play this very similar styles.
Undersized threes who kind of do some things for their teams that people don't always expect.
And that's a guy, coin toss, trailblazer.
Yeah.
Between him and Gary. Him and Gary, they're the same kind of player.
Right.
Undersized, like point center. They come up, 6'4", 6'5" guy is going to come up and screen you and then serve as a roll man offensively. It's,
We got the tallest 6'3" guy in the league. They got the tallest 6'4" guy in the league.
There you go. That's how it works.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
That tracks. Both very similar players that get things done in a weird way. I want to deviate here real quick. Blevins Country at Shoes'em Ops says, what should I get my girlfriend for Christmas?
Oh, yeah. We got a couple of random questions in here. I love those. Good gift for your girlfriend. An engagement ring?
Ooh, wow. Brandon, putting men back hundreds of years. Congratulations.
What do you mean?
You throwing that out there on him? Wow.
Go hard. Go hard in the paint, baby.
Wow.
Just go shading up for the putback dunk, man. What are we doing here?
Yikes. Hopefully.
What would you go with? Flowers? What are you doing?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe have a long discussion before throwing that out there. It's like telling your date that you're going to go on a date and dress nice and then taking them to a wedding.
What if they've been together for like 4 years?
Okay, what if they've been together for 4 months?
Shit or get off the pot.
God.
Hey, life is quick, brother.
It is. I mean, my wife and I proposed after like 6 months, so there you go.
Okay, me and my wife moved in together after 3.
Wow, really?
Oh, yeah. Well, it coincided with school. Her roommate was out, my roommate was out, and it was like, we don't have anywhere to live. We really liked each other, so we were like, let's just do it. And
let's see what happens.
And it ended up working out perfectly. I just turned 36, so that means I'm 4 from 40. Which means I'm only 10 from 50, which makes me then 10 from 60. And then I'm basically, I'm going to die.
Dead. Yeah.
So why are we caring if it's 4 years or 4 months? Bust the ring out. Let's go.
Well, I mean, why be a pussy about it? Why not go, get her pregnant?
Well, I mean, that's it. Jeez, you took it from where I was and you just took it up.
Oh, you said shit or get off the pots.
Brother, are you married?
Yeah, I am. Married?
Do you have kids?
No.
Because kids are above marriage. You took what I did, gave me shit for it, and you went, I'm going to elevate it even higher.
Well, I mean, it was great advice.
Don't have kids. Some advice. Get married. Travel the world.
Enjoy it.
Have kids at like 55. Just be be Michael Douglas with kids.
I don't think we have the same kind of money.
No, we don't have Michael Douglas money. But, if you do, congratulations.
Here we go. This is from Jason Iosco. At Jason Iosco, does this team have enough pieces to add a Turner-level player and a legit shooter off of the bench? Does Nas' injury impact potential trade packages we would have put together, or was Josh Hart always the more likely trade piece? I want to bookend this with Nasir Little real quick before we dive into it. And I've seen people like, do you think that Nas's willingness to take the contract that he did has anything to do with the fact that he's maybe shown some injuries? And yes, I think that very much Nas was interested in getting the money secured and having it out of sight, out of mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would be disingenuous to say that a guy who has had just freak stuff happen to him at like every stop thinks that, hey, maybe I should secure this money now just in case. Yeah. And I don't think that makes him bad or that he's stealing money or anything like that. I've seen some shit like that, and it's don't do that. It's super weird. Players getting hurt, unfortunately, is part of the sport, part of the game. Mm-hmm. It's super weird to kind of see like that he's already out of the league. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There have been players early in their careers who have had, because this isn't like Nas has bad knees or bad ankles or bad back or bad neck or anything like that. It's just been COVID, a shoulder, now his hip. Like, it's just been random stuff. Can he kind of figure that out, but also, be a value or a bargain in the NBA? And I think both things can be true.
I mean, I think you just go back to Nas, and I'll never forget the answer, man. I thought that was one of the more mature ways to handle like a media scrum.
100%.
He signed that deal, and people were like, "Whoa, like that? He took that deal." He's like, "Yo, $28 million?
It's generational money."
And by the way, he's thinking like we're thinking. That's not the end of his career by any stretch. So he's gonna get more money, and he's give $28 million. Yeah, I'll take that. He's banking on his ability, where maybe he'll be able to stay healthy, he'll get through it, and then the next deal is even better. But man, $28 million. I thought that was the most level-headed, mature answer I've heard from a young player ever
in a long time.
I legitimately ever. You just don't. How many players, Danny, do you find at that age take that deal and an instant reaction is, "Whoa, he." I feel like he got underpaid, and he comes out and is like, "No, I got $28 million."
He goes, "If I would tell my 4 years ago 18-year-old self that I had $28 million, I wouldn't believe you."
Right. So I give him a lot of credit for that.
But and this kind of fits into that like as far as him being a piece, I don't know how the Blazers signed him or viewed him as a basketball asset. I don't think they signed him with the intent to trade him. I think they signed him because they had an opportunity to get him for a bargain.
Mm-hmm.
Because typically teams don't do extensions on deals like this. They wait to see how the season goes because they want it to be favorable. I will say this. Coming into this season, I was under the impression that Nasir Little signing a new deal would be like 12 to 13 billion or less for the team. For them to be thinking they got a bargain, which would make them want to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they got it at 7 is why I think you saw a deal get done before the season started.
Sure. I mean, you offer that, and he says, yeah, I mean, take that all day. I think the Turner part of that question, it's fascinating, man, because he's an expiring one. I think people forget that. So are you going to get him to re-sign? Nothing's guaranteed, but if he came to Portland, I'd imagine it's the same Jeremy Grant deal of like, yeah.
Tweak it or not, for sure.
Here's my only pushback on it. I want him here. I think he'd be great for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what Indiana's doing. I know they're not good, but they've got some pieces. And so if Buddy Hield's not attached to the Turner deal and it's just a Turner for whatever Portland gives, what do they want from Portland? Because I truly...
Young assets and capital.
Okay, so it'd be Nurk and and Keon.
Nurk and one of the younger players and perhaps a first.
So, okay, I guess that's been my hang-up is I just don't know what Indiana's after. And that's the tough thing for Portland.
They don't really have any expectations right now. They're in the throw all the pieces on the board, see what pieces we have.
We have Nembhard, Halliburton, and we hope we'd have Wembanyama. Like, that's kind of where it feels like they're going.
Tyrese Halliburton is the only player on the roster right now. They're like, this guy's going to be here for the long haul.
Yes, that's the
And
deal.
well, and they believe the same with Mathurin, but Tyrese is like the
Mathurin, maybe Duarte if he comes. I know he's injured.
I think he's just a dude.
Sure.
But like as far as like their future planning,
Mathurin
Tyrese and Mathurin. Everything else, see what happens.
Sure.
And they have been talking about trading Miles Turner for 3 years.
That's what I said yesterday. I was like, dude, this guy's been talking about being traded for 4 years. At some point, we just got to say they don't want to trade him. It's a lie.
No, they do. But
come on, they're way overvaluing the asset though. They've had some good offers.
Yes and no.
Well, he's going to get traded this year.
Because they're not going to let him expire. That's the thing. It's like that's not going to happen.
They won't get LaMarcus.
No, they absolutely will not. And here's the thing. Because everybody keeps talking about it's going to cost so much to get Miles Turner. Remember when I told you it was not going to cost that much to get Jeremy Grant on an expiring deal? It didn't cost that much to get Jeremy Grant on an expiring deal.
God, I want him to make an all-star game so we can go back to that trade. We traded CJ for that?
Yeah, exactly.
Got an all-star out of it?
Yes, you did. When it comes down to it, I think it will be a salary slot and a pick. Perhaps ever so more. Maybe a young guy in there on the back of your bench.
I mean, I wish the young guy luck, and I wish the big man good luck. But if
having a 5 who works as a floor spacing,
it's unbelievable.
Pick and pop, rim protecting. Yeah, you saw it last night in the first half.
We all saw it last night.
It was hell.
Yes. We all thought the same thing.
They went 5 out with a shot blocker and rim protector.
I had a vision of Josh lobbing it to Shaden, who then in the air lobs it to Miles, and Miles finishes. Like, I have weird visions of obscene basketball moments that never happened watching him play. And if that's what it took, I think it'd be a smart move. The other East team I was thinking about was Chicago. They're clearly not going the right direction.
Yeah, and Vooch isn't a guy you want.
No. I'm thinking about the wing.
Oh, Patrick Williams?
No, DeRozan. I think he's...
I think he's wing.
I think he's on the block.
Oh, no, he is, but like that might be steering into the skid too much.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I love DDR. Shout out my boy, fight on. But that's maybe perhaps too much offense on this team.
There's no such thing. Ridiculous.
Little light in the ass on the defensive end.
Tell the 07 Suns too much offense. See what they say to you, Daniel.
They didn't win.
Hey, that's because Amari got suspended for the dumbest reason.
Because he took 2 steps off a bench. Yeah.
So stupid.
But no, I think you're right as far as the Bulls could definitely shake things up. But
overall, I think but this is our point to the beginning, right? This is how you bring it full circle. This team is fun, but there are pieces that actually could move the needle for this franchise.
For sure, as far as outgoing pieces and as far as incoming pieces.
Incoming pieces that could seriously move the needle. Miles Turner with this group would be really fun and make a ton of sense.
Yeah, 100%. And I got a lot of questions like this, and I don't want you guys to feel like I'm disregarding you. I don't know particulars on trade stuff right now. It will be probably 2 or 3 weeks before I start digging into them,
sniffing around.
Well, I mean, I'm sniffing around already. Like that's happening, but the value scale goes, well, I don't know. Lose a few more games, see where they're at. Win a few more games, see where they're at. There's a lot of that going on, which is why between December 15th and January 15th, you get so much swing, and then post All-Star break, you kind of end up where you end up.
Yeah.
But I got a lot of those questions, so I don't want you guys to think that I'm discarding it. Like, what does a Hart Keon package return? What does Hart Winslow get? What does Winslow Little get? Like, what do those combinations look like, and kind of what's the sliding bar for what they could return? Well, I don't know until I know who's truly on the market and how willing they are to play ball. I will say this. Joe already has delivered the biggest trades in this franchise's recent memory. In the first year, he brought in more impact players than anybody else has in the last 10 years. So I
Yeah.
I at least trust that when he says he wants to make changes on this team, Brandon, changes are coming.
Oh, I mean, I don't know how we saw what he did last year, and look, he was met with immediate pushback and anger and vitriol. It's worked out okay actually ended up working out okay for kind of everybody involved, right? Larry and CJ go, and they found a nice little home for themselves. New Orleans, the 2 seed in the West, and Portland's gotten themselves right now so far an all-star forward that they haven't had a player kind of like of that dynamic in a very, very long time. He's very unique in that way. So I go back to the trades last year. Those were huge swings. People didn't like them. And I think we've seen them work. I think now to the point where if Joe made a move, I think a lot of people would second guess, like, should I hit send on this tweet or should I delete the tweet?
Let's see how this one shakes out first.
I think there'd be a lot of holding the opinion because there were a lot of stupid takes after last year's.
Where's the fun in that?
Hard on it. Well, I mean, we did those pods. I didn't go super hard on them. And I said, look, these are necessary moves. They're not fun. And luckily, for our opinion's sake, they ended up working out. But to that point, I don't think there's a doubt in my mind Joe's going to swing for the fence if there's a move to be made out there.
Let's get out of here on some fun ones. Little Ucho at @little_Ucho. Favorite pre- and post-game place to get food and drinks?
Post is tough because, like, you got to either get in. Well, I know everything's closed, or you got to get in, like, a lift and go somewhere. Otherwise, it's Dr. Jack's.
Yeah.
And then pre is it Ex Novo right up the road, not too far by the park and the school. I love that spot. I think it's underrated.
That's a good spot. I'm gonna plug it for the homie Justin here, JoJo.
Well, yeah, obviously JoJo. I mean,
listen,
touche.
Have you been to the building yet?
The brick and mortar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Attaboy.
I actually saw him, and I was too nervous to say hi.
Oh wow! Look at that, Justin. You have fans.
Dude, this shit is delicious.
It is. You know how I know? I had it this afternoon.
Oh, did you? It's really like a 5-minute walk from our work. 10-minute walk from our work.
I may or may not have met up with my past lover and co-host, and Joe Simons.
Oh, was that the text you sent me on accident?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll be there at 3:05.
Confusing your work wives. What? What are you talking about? Where am I supposed to be at 3:05? Sorry, wrong person.
See, because you had just sent me the other message about what time we want to do the pod tonight. Yeah. A little inside baseball. But yeah, it's kind of a weird spot that the Blazers doing a really good job of like bringing more food into the building, which rad, love that. But I'm just gonna plug my other. Oh, and shout out Ricky at Palomar.
I need to get out to check Ricky, man. He's been sending out the menu items. Oh my!
It looks
God.
fantastic.
Looks amazing.
And homeboy McKee up at Dame.
So. Yeah, there's a lot of good spots, man.
Well, listen, I will plug your kick-ass restaurants, guys. So keep them coming.
Danny's just gonna plug them as long as you try to provide some food for him.
Brandon's not wrong.
It's a pay for play.
And then we'll get out on this one real quick from Jimmy Cricklow at Strife. Thoughts on candy canes?
Love them, but caveat: I hate these multicolored bullshit ones. Give me traditional peppermint. Well, it'll be green and brown or blue and orange.
What about like the Coke flavored ones or the orange flavored ones?
Brother, the only Coke I want is the illegal substance, and they don't provide that. So I'm taking the peppermint candy cane, traditional. I love them. Don't pull this. I suck on those things all month.
That's turning into a drop.
Okay. What do you want from me? I'm being honest. I love a good candy cane.
Beautiful. I'm gonna go out here and say candy canes suck. Mint doesn't belong on anything other than toothpaste. People who eat mint as a flavor are weird deviants.
So you don't like chocolate chip mint ice cream?
No. Mint belongs in toothpaste and like dental equipment.
I'll be honest with you. This is rivaling your stuffing take. This is like on the because that is quite literally my favorite ice cream.
Really?
But it has to be the green.
Do you ever just take an edible and go in the bathroom and just start chewing on toothpaste?
No, I do that when I'm on shrooms.
Oh, okay. Because that's what it sounds like to me. What? Ocasio brings up one.
It's not the same thing.
There is one actual exception where mint is the featured act in a mojito. Okay.
So mojito mint is okay, but like mojito ice cream,
no.
Peppermint.
No. Oh, No, well, especially peppermint. I'm very anti-peppermint.
Bro, when you die, I hope they cut your tongue open. We need to examine these taste buds you have.
They're
'Cause
elite.
They're failing you.
They're
failing you.
elite.
They're failing you right now.
They're elite.
Dude, peppermint ice cream, chocolate chip mint ice cream is probably like
Ugh.
number 2 or 3 seller of all time.
No.
Come on, vanilla's easily 1.
Chocolate 2.
Chocolate's 2.
It's gotta be strawberry. Like we're gonna go Neapolitan here.
Neapolitan.
Well, listen, I'm not saying the ice cream. Just like my favorite. I'm just saying like that's why the 3 are together, man.
No, Neapolitan's the orgy of ice creams. Like, make your mind up. Commit or don't commit already.
It's for swingers.
Yeah, it's the swingers ice
Let
cream.
me go ahead and get all 3 in one bite. Oh.
Yeah, you're really twisted when you don't even scoop them individually flavored. You scoop across so you get all 3 in one. Then you're a twisted individual.
I was just gonna say that's how I do it.
Oh man, you've got swings and gimp outfits. You got everything going on.
We don't kink shame here, Brandon.
There is no kink shame.
We don't kink shame.
But it ain't chocolate chip mint ice cream.
That's like the sex dungeon with a code word. That's what that is.
Bro, I'm so disappointed right now. I cannot believe you hate chocolate chip mint ice cream.
It's not just that. There's more than that.
You hate candy canes.
I do. Anytime I ever see anybody like doing the whole like candy cane toothpick thing, like sharpening it into a blade and they're above
That's kind of weird. Yeah, I'm like, are you trying to shank somebody?
Yeah, and I'm like, it's not a prison shank, Bob. Number 1. Number 2, why are you chewing on toothpaste?
I will say the elite candy canes are actually not your standard candy canes. I hate the hook. I'm not a fan of the hook. It's odd shaped. Give me the straight line ones.
You don't like a little bend in it?
I don't like a little bend. I want it like a real long, stiffy, just straight down.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. We have another contender here this is from Corey. The best ice cream is Italian pistachio gelato. No.
I mean, I love a good pistachio ice cream, though.
Oh, my God. No. Why are we eating green nut flavored ice cream?
You don't like nuts?
I love nuts.
What's the problem?
Bro nuts. I even
don't
love
like the green
pistachios. But pistachio ice cream. Don't you ever watch Great British Bake Show?
No.
There's
I'm an American.
Okay, listen. There's 2 flavors you never use.
I watch Guy Fieri.
Matcha and pistachio. Rosewater is probably number 3, but come on now. Okay, we have completely derailed.
Pistachio, by the way, flavor doesn't even taste like pistachio.
It's just the thought of it. It's weird.
It's the grape of grape. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you're like, what does grape actually taste like?
Yeah, it doesn't really taste like
if
much,
you actually just gave somebody grape and you didn't tell them what it was, they'd be like, I'm not sure.
Weird water.
Yeah, exactly. Like sweet water. I don't know what to go with this, but yeah, okay.
Yeah,
we're completely off the rails at this point in time.
Okay.
We're gonna wrap it up. Thank you all. We appreciate you.
Good poll question. Do you like chocolate chip mint ice cream? Yes or no?
I will throw it up under the Jack Ramsays.
Okay.
I will ask them to rank them and where they end up coming out.
Okay.
You know what? I will put in the text between chocolate, strawberry, vanilla, and mint.
Chocolate chip mint. You gotta have the chocolate chip mint.
Where would you rank? No, because we need to see. You said mint was number 3 after chocolate and vanilla. We got to find where mint is.
Oh, so, I was going just on sales. My personal opinion.
But that's what I'm saying. We'll see where people think mint actually lies, and then we will have to do research on this. You can follow that poll at Jack Ramsays on social media, at Danny Marang, at Brandon Sprague. You can email the show, jackramsays@gmail.com. We will have the watch party when the Blazers hit the road trip for that 6-game road trip. Otherwise, we will be in the building for Denver and the 2 Minnesota games, the 3 games of 4, the 6-game trip, and then we'll be back to the watch party. So if you want to be a part of those, make sure you join the community and join us. We've had a couple 150 or so, I think, the last 3 or 4 shows. As the season goes, more and more people are like, hey, this was actually really cool. Let's come do this. you can watch everybody kind of lose their collective mind at once. It's super fun. Every time Shaden Sharp gets to drop an absolute hammer on somebody, we get to pull those out. Other than that, rate, view, and subscribe. Help us grow the show. Help us get to 5,000 by the end of the year. Share us with your friends. Share us with your family. And other than that, we're good to go. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful night. We will talk soon, and we'll catch you. Maybe we'll do another show before we get back to things on Wednesday, or we'll circle back on Friday for another mailbag post Denver to kind of see where we're at. For Brandon, I'm Danny. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful night. We'll talk soon. Wonderful day if you're listening to us in the morning.